folks. Welcome to Color of Music Collective's first ever student-led roundtable in partnership with Music Business Association and sponsored by DistroKid. We'll jump right into introductions, but for now, want to introduce everyone to JJ from Music Business Association.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being a part tonight. We're so excited to hear from all these panelists. I know I've been waiting on it all day, so really appreciate it. I just want to kind of come up because, as we kind of made the, partnership happen, we really looked at one of our events coming up next Gen U, and this panel is actually a precursor to that. It's really going to be, Mia's going to be there too, speaking, on behalf of Color Music Collective, but it's really a precursor to really build your own community. And also there's going to be incredible diversity and inclusion organizations that are going to be there to really lead the charge in helping you see how you can be difference on your campus. And so, this is the precursor to that. And you'll be able to, check all that out at Next Gen U. The conversation will continue going, but we just can't thank you enough for being here, and look forward to hearing the talk, but appreciate it. Back to you, Marcella.
Awesome. Thank you, JJ. And yeah, like JJ said, Next Gen U has been a real game changer for a lot of upcoming students in the music business, giving them opportunities to network, not just with other rising students and game changers, but with other industry professionals as well. So definitely attend the conference if you can. So let's just get started. We'll jump right into introductions. So let's have everyone go around, briefly say your name and your pronouns, your university and or company. And we'll get started with Medina.
Hey guys, happy to be here. My name is Medina. I identify as she, her, and I am a recent alum of the City College of New York. Shout out to CUNY, and also work as an editorial coordinator at TikTok.
Awesome, thank you, Medina. And how about you, Andy?
Everyone, my name is Andy Torres-Lopez. I'm from Queens, New York, currently a student at Syracuse University. This year I'll be graduating with a Master's of Business Administration and a Bachelor's of Music Industry.
Awesome. And how about you, Zaynab?
Hi everyone, my name is Zaynab Alhakawati. I'm currently a fourth-year student at Cal State Fullerton, studying communications with an emphasis in entertainment and tourism, and I also volunteer with Color of Music.
Thanks, Zaynab. And how about you, James?
What's going on, beautiful people? My name is James June. You can just call me June, like the month. I went to the Howard University in Washington, D.C., studying art, and now I'm a digital media coordinator at Capitol Music Group in LA.
Awesome, thank you. I know we also have Kathy Cha, but I think we lost her briefly. I'm sure she'll be rejoining us shortly, but we'll just kick it off with the first question, get the conversation moving a bit. So just to kick it off, many freshmen or young students looking to break into the music business often struggle because they have little to no experience in music, and they see these internship postings or job postings that require 2 to 3 years of experience in marketing or whatever it may be. What is your advice to students looking to make the most of their music community on campus, and how did you personally utilize your community to help you land an internship or an opportunity in the music business? And anyone can just jump in to kick it off.
I'll definitely say for me at Howard, it was just being mixy and going to concerts, going to parties, going to shows, different creative events. The learning aspect for that and getting internships was definitely like outside of the classroom for sure. Throwing events with organizations, things like that. Yeah, honestly, if I wasn't like addicted to going to concerts all the time, I probably would not have gotten my first internship at all. So that was it for me, for sure.
Did your university have a lot of a huge live event space?
Okay, so Howard University has homecoming, which is like everyone wants to come there, but outside of that, it's like, it's definitely not really focused on that. It's more so like a one-time thing a year, but yeah, honestly, outside of the homecomings things, which was like really hard to get into, it was like the smaller shows for like the more developing artists where I got, my real start for sure.
Right. And I just want to give, before we continue, I want to give the rest of the panelists a chance to answer. But Kathy, I'm glad we have you back for a bit if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi guys, sorry I'm in Texas, so the power is a little wonky right now. It disconnected me, but I'm Kathy. I'm a senior at the University of Texas, and I'm currently like a marketing rep over at 1824, which is a part of Universal Music Group.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, thank you, James, for sharing. I'm curious, Andy, because I know that Syracuse also has a huge, pretty substantial live music scene on campus, and I know you were involved in that as well. So I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so I would say that like a lot of young students, I had a lot of trouble sort of wrapping my head around how I could get relevant experience for internships. It's like the classic dilemma, like you need experience to get an internship, you need an internship to get an experience. But I will say that at least at Syracuse, I had, oh, I see somebody from Syracuse in the audience. Hey, what's up? Yeah, so yeah, early on, I feel like I just really tried to launch myself into anything that had to do with music. I got involved in the music magazine on campus. I just decided to reach out and see if I could write a story for their website. I went to a lot of house shows at the time in a pre-COVID world. There was a lot of like a DIY music scene going on. And I think that just like being there and then also doing like magazine stuff introduced me to people who are also on the programming board, who were involved in performance groups. And I feel like that was the beginning of me branching out and getting to know music on campus and just like building out what I didn't realize was experience at the time. I thought was just, exploring my passion, but ultimately ended up leading me to my first internship too. Because I was able to say that I had spent the past, couple of years immersing myself in everything to do with music. So yeah, that's sort of my experience. And like June said, going to live shows is such a great way to get your start. But really just, in that same vein, immersing yourself in everything to do with music, because people really care about passion for it.
It sounds like it was a pretty consistent trajectory in terms of like starting with you reaching out to the music magazine and then sort of, getting more and like more deeply involved in campus as you went up.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I feel like it really connects to one of the central themes of this, which is community, because I think it was just by meeting people who were involved in this same thing that I found, so many more ways to get involved on campus.
And I feel like something important to touch on there is when you first reached out to that music magazine, if it was, maybe your first experience with music on campus, that can be a little bit intimidating, like as a freshman. And I'm curious, how you push yourself to do that and what your advice is to other, freshmen who may be intimidated by that.
Yeah, I think that at the time, it was certainly intimidating to get involved. I think though that I had this like sense of blind confidence going into it that, like it was like a music magazine and the first piece that I wrote was like about the Recording Academy and like what was going on, which is like more like the business side of things. But I think that I just like decided to like just go for it. I felt like I had something to say and like I just wanted to give myself the experience of writing it out. So I guess my advice to people who are, feeling like they're not confident enough to throw themselves out there is like, just fake it a little bit. You're on a college campus. I think that it's important to remember that, as much as people around you seem like they have it together, you're all sort of starting out at the same level. So you really shouldn't be afraid to throw something out there. It's pretty low risk. Like, if I'm being real, probably not a lot of people read the article, but it served me well to just, get involved in something I was passionate about and get connected to new people. And yeah, so sometimes like what can feel like a big step is pretty minimal in a larger scale, but can be a big stepping stone for you personally in just like launching yourself in.
Really great advice. Yeah, I think it's important, especially starting out. And, I think in a way that blind confidence is really helpful, especially just starting out and in putting yourself out there on campus. And it'll be, a lesson for post-grad when you have to put yourself out there at your job as well, which can feel intimidating. But typically pays off. But yeah, I'm curious to hear from Kathy, Medina, or Zaynab, your advice for other students looking to, land that first internship when they may not have all of that experience yet.
Yeah, well, for me, something that I also like went to a bunch of concerts, and like being from New York, like there's always like a show to go to. But what really helped me was professional development programs. I did a few. One was called the T. Howard Foundation. Another one that I did was called Girl Wonder, which is geared towards like women of color between like the ages of like 17 to 23. And then like one that like I cherish because like it helped me get my job is called Here to Help. And all of these programs are like geared towards like supporting BIPOC folks, LGBTQIA plus folks, and anyone who like may be like, I guess, marginalized in the music industry. And they really guided me and like showed me the ropes, but they were also super transparent about the music industry, which was something that I didn't know. Cause like if you had met 17-year-old me as a freshman, I totally was like, I'm gonna go to like free shows and like have fun and get lit. And then like, we're gonna go in the next day and be like, we chilled with a celebrity. And it's not like that. You do have those moments, but like not all the time. So like having someone like sit down and like tell you, okay, this is what your experience is gonna be like. There's gonna be a little bit of grit, but if you're interested, here are some opportunities, definitely helped me out, because going to like a CUNY school, there weren't a lot of like programs geared towards like people trying to get into the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I think I was lucky just because my school is an hour away from LA. So we have a pretty good like community that wants to work in like entertainment and music. So we do have a few clubs on campus, and I started getting involved with those pretty early on, volunteering, applying to be on board, joining the street team. And I think with that, which is nice, is that with clubs and stuff, they don't really expect anything from you. Like you don't have to have any experience as long as you're willing to put in the effort and you show that they're willing to take a chance on you. And I think that's really helpful for building your resume and stuff like that. And I actually ended up getting my first internship through a recommendation from a past panelist from one of these clubs. So definitely going to like panels and stuff like that really helped me on campus.
Yeah, and I think something you mentioned, street teams are so crucial, and they're so accessible to all college students. I'm curious to hear a bit more about your experience with the street team, if you don't mind elaborating a little bit on that.
Yeah, so most clubs on my campus have like a street team for people that are not on board but want to help out, and then you're able to like shadow, get to know them a little bit more, and then when you apply to be on board, they kind of know a little bit more about you and you know what you want to do within that. So it's pretty helpful. We usually just go to the events, help out set up and stuff like that. And I think most clubs usually have something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to hear from you as well, Kathy.
So my story is not as, I think, the same as everyone else. So I'm from Texas. I go to the University of Texas, and we are not a music school whatsoever. I am a business student, and the business school is very much accounting, finance, like those are the hard hitters. And but growing up, like I always knew that music was my passion. I didn't necessarily see myself like being on stage and being like an artist or anything like that, but there was something about the music industry that, and maybe it was more personal because music is a big part of my life, but getting to college, I was really like, I don't know how to get into music. And for a good chunk of my time here until I was about a junior, so about the first 2 years, I didn't really do anything music related. There wasn't really opportunities on campus. I mean, there was like the school radio. That was kind of like the biggest chunk of everything. And coming in as a freshman, I was a lot more introverted. I was a lot more shy, a lot more in my shell, and I didn't really put myself out there. And what I've come to realize, and I think the biggest advice, and it's a little generic, but for me, the biggest advice I can say is that kind of learn to get comfortable being, or get comfortable with not being comfortable. Like I was the one stopping myself. I was the reason that I didn't have opportunities. I was the reason that I didn't know what to do. I wasn't putting myself out there. I wasn't looking for opportunities. I wasn't doing whatever in my power to make this happen. And I was my biggest obstacle. And I think that once I was able to kind of come to this realization, now it's like kind of earlier, what was said about like faking the confidence, kind of doing that's so true. You know, in college, I think sometimes you get afraid of like, what if I do this, people are going to look at me weird, or like, oh, people are going to think I'm like weird for posting this on like socials and like advertising this or like doing this on campus. Honestly, no one cares. In college, everyone is so in their own world. Everyone is so focused on themselves. No one really cares what you're doing, even if it feels like it, because at the end of the day, you are like the reason why you're not doing it. And like, I think if your campus doesn't have music business opportunities like mine did, find it, you know, whether it's from these panels. I think these panels are amazing. Like the people you connect here, like earlier, like how she said she got her internship. These panels are literally like your way, like, you know, your stepping stone. Because something that I heard a long time ago, and it's really stuck with me, especially in the music industry, is your network is your net worth. You know, the people you know, those are the people who are going to connect you, especially in the music industry. It doesn't really matter where you're coming from. It doesn't really matter your background. It's about putting yourself out there and meeting people. And I think for me, like, that's the biggest advice I can give. I don't have like a lot of opportunities. I can't show you different ways to get there, but yourself, like, that's just, I don't know, like that's one of the biggest things that's helped me grow and like become this person that I am, being able to sit here and talk on a panel, being comfortable enough. And yeah, I think that's just the best advice I can give.
I mean, if you're not inspired, I'm not sure what you're feeling, but I think like the biggest takeaway from what each of you shared is like putting yourself out there is really important. It can be scary, it can be intimidating, but the opportunities are in front of you for you to make the most of them, and it will 100% pay off for you if you do take those opportunities available to you. And also, what a great segue, because our next question was, you know, what are the ways that you're involved in your music community on campus, which we already touched on those different ways. But I think more importantly, for those at universities with less music opportunities on campus, like Kathy mentioned, U of T is not necessarily a music business school. What is your advice for spearheading that involvement and growing a community for themselves?
I think just kind of being able to come to these panels, like find those different accounts on Instagram that focus on business, focus on, like, for me, like being a first generation, like Asian woman, like color music is like, this is kind of just encompassing everything that I am, you know, and taking these resources, these panels, like what you're learning from them, start your own org. You know, most schools, at least at UT, the only requirement to be an org is having at least 10 members. You can find 9 other people who love music just as much as you do, especially on any campus. It doesn't matter if it's a music school or not. You know, music connects people in more ways than you know. And even if they don't want to be in the music industry, maybe they just want an org that like feeds into their music like habits, you know, like their hobby, and that's perfectly fine. And I think just being able to connect and start it yourself. You don't have it, do it. You know, again, like, you're stopping yourself. And I think like that's the biggest takeaway I can like give for this question too.
And I'm curious.
I'll go. One thing I really like seeing on my campus was, you know, tapping into, I'm not sure if like other schools have like Spring Fest or like some sort of freshman week or something. Like most, like, you know, colleges will have something for that. But I was really like kind of what Kathy was saying, like, I don't know, not afraid, but like more so like I was deterred off from like being involved in student government until I peeped that, oh, it's student government that's throwing the concerts and throwing the parties and they got the budgets, and like really figuring out, okay, how can I tap into doing this with my skill set and like taking over creative with that sort of thing. I remember my last 2 years on campus specifically, I had like led the creative for our Spring Fest, which was like a mini homecoming, like specifically for students. And doing that was like such a dope time. And I regret not like tapping into, you know, student government stuff when I was a freshman, because I was like, oh, I'm trying to be this hipster art student. I ain't trying to mess with all that stuff. But in reality, it was like really fun. And I regretted not tapping into that all 4 years. So I would say the student government, like, don't be shy. Like, as far as entertainment stuff, those will be your resource to just find, you know, I was doing graphics and like creative and like, you know, the marketing stuff. And I did an art show. I did my own event too. So like, but like find what works for you within, you know, the spaces at your school that have the budget. I feel like that would be like a good advice for sure.
And I think like just right there from what you mentioned, like getting involved with campus concerts, you know, on your resume, that goes to event planning and starting your own, you know, you also like art curator and content creator, you know, right there, these are the experiences that you're putting on your resume to make yourself more marketable.
I just want to jump in and say that, like, you know, because the question's asking, like, if you're on a campus with like really like no opportunities to get involved in music, like, let's say you're at a place that like doesn't really have a strong programming board or like a strong music scene. I think that right now, especially, you know, since we're in a pandemic, there are plenty of opportunities to get connected to people virtually. Colored Music Collective is one of them. But there are just so many other ways that you can get in touch with people who are like you, who are interested in pursuing a career in music, but don't really know where to start. There's another really great online community called Quadio. You can try meeting people through there. I think that, you know, other things that you can do is, you know, there are a lot of things popping up right now, like social media accounts that like center around music news, curation, discovery. You can try like reaching out to one of those and see if there's any way you can help. I started this project sometime late last year with a friend of mine, and we're on TikTok, and essentially like we just recommend artists and stuff. It's like a music discovery platform called For Your Rotation. And that was a project that kind of just came out of the blue, and came to us because we felt like we were stunted by the fact that there wasn't really stuff going on in the summer, and we still wanted to get our hands on experience. So, you know, things like that, like projects like that, communities like that exist right now digitally. I think right now is as good a time as ever to look for those opportunities if you feel like you're not really getting that on campus. And I think that the playing field right now is very equal because of it. Like everyone is finding their opportunities online. So if you can too, then, you know, you're off to a good start.
And I also agree with Ariana in the chat that For Your Rotation is the best. Definitely check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, but like Andy said, and to add on to what Andy said, those online communities that formed, you know, before the pandemic, during the pandemic, are also starting to probably look for campus ambassadors or street team members. And that's also a really great way to get involved in your community, or to be, you know, like you can start a chapter on campus as well. I know Grammy U is a massive resource as well. And I think, you know, you spearheading that on campus looks so incredible to employers. It shows that you really are a game changer and take initiative. And I'm curious to hear from you, Medina, just because I know Andy did touch on TikTok, and it was going to be something I was going to mention, was that I feel like it gives college students sort of their own power to become content curators as early as they want, you know, so I'm curious to hear, you know, from you.
I think honestly, I feel like when Andy was mentioning them, like that is literally like what people love to see. That's the stuff that like pops up on my For You page like all the time. But from like a perspective of like trying to get into the music industry, it's amazing because like at least for me, when I was interviewing for my current role, the hiring manager, like he literally like did a deep dive on me, and he found like articles that I made when I was a freshman and like random playlists that I made like during like quarantine and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, like, you know, it's really cool that you did that because like I used to do stuff like that too. And I'm just like, word, okay, well, here's more. So like you think like, I know like when you're in it, people are like, oh, this is so small, like it doesn't really matter, but like people are looking at it, and it's a great way to kind of get experience, especially if like you don't have access to having like major record labels. And like especially with platforms like Instagram and TikTok, like it is so easy to like pop off by doing one video because people want to hear other perspectives on like music and like the business industry and like how other people feel about other things. So like that is a perfect way to get a start if you're like a freshman or even a senior trying to like transition from one spot to another.
Absolutely. And I'm also curious for you, was your school necessarily a music business school?
So my school is mostly known for engineering. So like we don't have a lot of music business resources, but because we are in New York, and this is something that like I was very fortunate to have, like all of the major record labels and tech companies are literally like a train stop away. So while I didn't get to have like the resources on campus, like it was a little bit easier for me to like reach out because like I was also super weird and went to a bunch of like networking events and like literally knocked on people's doors and was like, yo, can you give me a shot? Like I'm trying. But what I did was like I joined my radio station like my senior year of college. I was super nervous, like they were all super cool and I was like really intimidated, but like they were a great resource to me because like they taught me about all of the latest music trends. They gave me extra rundowns on the music industry. And I think like anyone who's trying to get interested in the music industry, if you don't have as many resources on your campus, you should definitely like go talk to your radio station, talk to people who are majoring in communications, because they tend to have a little bit more of a perspective or at least like contacts that you may not have. And also like reach out to professors because someone's professor knows someone in the industry. You just have to like dig deep. My first internship was through like listening professor and like DMing a person on Instagram, and then they just gave me that internship.
Your professors are such a major resource right in front of you, and I feel like that can be really easily overlooked sometimes, and I definitely did in college as well. But yeah, I think that's a really, really useful piece of advice. And what about Fullerton, Zaynab? What was the music community like there for you?
I think for our school, it's more big on like Disneyland since it's right down the street, as well as like film and TV. There's a separate major for that as well. But like everyone else also mentioned, we do have like a radio station as well as like student government where we host concerts and stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. I don't think I'd ever have any other opportunity to host my own concert with someone else's money. So that was fun. Definitely take advantage of that if you can. But if, like Kathy was saying, if you don't find these opportunities, definitely try to make them yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point, is there's not going to be, much more of an opportunity to present an idea to someone for a show or an event and, not have to take that money from your own pocket. Universities have budgets and, are willing to work with you if you're willing to spearhead those ideas and, do most of the work in that way. And I think, for our next question, we sort of touched on, what advice you would give for in terms of spearheading your own community. But I want to hone more in on making those lessons you learn from joining those communities and spearheading, your own culture on campus, and focus more on how you can take those and make them actionable and make them action items, either on your resume or during an interview. How can you market yourself best? What are what are the harder skills you would say you've developed and would want to share with others that you feel are really important to land that job or to just make yourself most marketable?
I think the way that I landed my first internship and what I feel like I really gained from all of the experiences that I took on at Syracuse is passion. I think that I had an opportunity to demonstrate passion for music, and I gained a general understanding of how the music industry works. And I think that honestly, when it comes to like landing your first internship opportunity, those are two very essential pieces. And it actually might be what, like, as much as somebody can expect from you as you're starting off. I think, like Medina said, like she was knocking on doors and asking people to, just like tell her a bit more about this business that she wanted to enter. And, and also people did a deep dive into her playlists and articles that she wrote. And like she said, although they seemed small at the time, it was like tangible evidence that you love music and that you cared enough to do something with it. And then, you know, when it comes time to pitch yourself for that first opportunity, you've already shown them that much, which is impossible to teach. You can't like teach passion for what you're doing. And hopefully you've come into with some general knowledge of how the music industry works. Though I will say that, you know, even before finding that first opportunity, networking is so key. And really, like, networking sounds like a really scary term, but I think that the best way to describe it is you're reaching out to people who know things that you don't, and you're trying your best to understand what they do by just asking them about it. And I think that, you know, to get a really good start in networking too, like I said, that ability to have displayed passion for music and for what they do is so important. So yeah, I think all in all, like, all the opportunities that I got involved in early on, I think that the real way that they've led me to internships has just been that I have now a portfolio to show people that I really care about the core of what everyone's working on. So yeah, my advice, I know it connects to like our previous answers, but seek out those opportunities is just a way to prove to other people, not that you have all the skills, but that you just like really care and that you're really curious.
I think that's so important because I think when I was just starting to apply to internships in college, I would read a job posting and see must be passionate and sort of just think it was a placeholder or, you know, but they really mean that. Recruiters don't just want to like see that you wrote you're passionate on your cover letter. They really want to feel that from you. And like Andy said, they want to see that you've actioned on that in a portfolio or however you can show that to them. So I think that's really important to highlight.
I want to add just the importance of that portfolio. You know, I'm definitely more like visual, digital, creative stuff. So, you know, my resume is fine, but like my portfolio is like that alone is what's going to get me my job. I think also like shopping it around to the right people too. You know, it doesn't even have to be something where you're super loud about it on Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. You know, that can definitely work, but you know, just getting your work in front of the right people. That's why that networking piece is so important, because one person, like your one boss might see your work and not have a gig for you, but their homie who is over at a different label or some other streaming company, they might be looking for an assistant or some help, or maybe even like a temp gig. But just making sure you're shopping around your portfolio to the right folks, that's always been like so important. Like, yeah, like, and make it cute too. I feel like it's funny because like I'm thinking about now when I was about to graduate, I loved like making my like portfolio, my website and that stuff, because I was so thirsty to like get a job and I was not getting no jobs. But uh I always like kept at my portfolio and kept building that out, making it doper. I made a reel for my stuff. I'm not like I don't direct videos or anything like that, but I made a reel for myself because I wanted to show my work and make it flashy. Because the music industry, they want to see that you can do flashy stuff. And I felt like that really like falling in love with that process of just like hyping yourself up and like making your own little thing look cute, even if only like 10 people are going to see it, but like out of those 10 people, like one of them gonna give you a job. So that's like the main thing that I feel like keep, you know, reminding yourself to make your portfolio dope. Even an Instagram could be a portfolio. If you do events, have photos of all the events you did or all the panels you did because it's COVID, or all the little live stream stuff. I feel like that portfolio is like, I would say that's in my, well, at least for me, anyone trying to do creative or like visual digital stuff, that portfolio is 100% more important than your resume for sure. But so
Yeah, I
wanted to
quickly,
repeat that for sure.
yeah, I just really quickly wanted to bounce off of what you're saying, June, because I think that, you know, you as a creative, our portfolio takes on a more literal sense. But, you know, I think that, like you said, a portfolio could be an Instagram account, it could be your LinkedIn profile, it could literally just be a set of links, which I think is what I would call my portfolio at this moment. But just like, you know, the idea is having something to show for your work and something to show for your passion. And yeah, like you said, June, you know, your resume it may not be, you know, filled with experiences, but as long as you can point to something and say, you know, I care about music and here's proof, you know, I'm passionate about this and I'm trying to get better at it and here's proof, like that'll go such a long way. And like June said, it doesn't matter if, you know, 10 people see it. It doesn't matter if even over 100 people see it, as long as you have it ready to pull out for when you're talking to people and trying to tell them what you're about, it can be so valuable.
I'll add on to that. And I think something else that you should do when you're making these portfolios or like these decks, is pivot it or like gear it towards like what you want to do. So if you want to be an A&R, like I would totally just have like an entire deck of like artists who are up and coming from like your region or something that you love, or just like go out and start reaching out to these people so that you can build connections, so that you have something to talk to. Something that really helped me when I was kind of going through all of these experiences and processes is like I would make decks or like portfolios geared towards like the person that I was speaking to, so that like now like okay, they know what I'm interested in and what I'm passionate about, but also like I can have something that can like help them. So like my last internship before working at TikTok was at MTV, and I was super obsessed with like the music team. Like I like if you had met me like in April, I wanted to work there. Like I would have done anything. So I like went to all of the people on the music team and was like, here's a deck of artists that I think that you should feature on your page, or here's some show ideas that I think would be great. And it was like a great way to like merge the two things, because like I really love finding artists and like emerging artists and like promoting them, but at the same time like this is what fits for MTV's brand. So like whoever you're talking to, like even if there isn't a job opportunity available, they'll be like, wow, like she gave me a lot of great examples and things that I can use. And one takeaway that I get from like talking to a bunch of like executives in the music industry is that like, okay, you may not have something tangible to offer, but because we're college students and we're young and we fit into the demographic that they're marketing towards, they want to hear your ideas. So if you're sitting in this call with someone and you have 30 minutes with them, the best thing that you can do is tell them like your thoughts on like this label or their roster or what TikTok is doing to like improve the music industry. Cause like once they hear it, they're just like, whoa, for real? Okay, I'm gonna keep this girl, you know, like on my radar just in case like a job pops up. And that's like the best way to kind of like show your passion, but also show that you have the skill set to do whatever job is necessary.
And I'm just curious, were you on the music team at MTV or was that a separate team that you were working?
Yeah, it was a separate team. I like worked on the team that like did all of the Wild 'N Out shows and like Snoop and Martha. And I was trying to get in so bad, but then the panty hit and they were like, nope, not today.
I mean, I just wanted to highlight that because that's so brilliant, is that if you're at an internship and you know you got your foot in the door, maybe you're not on the music team, you want to be on the music team, market yourself to the music team, do the work of the music team. You know, you did work for them. You created a deck for them, and that's so invaluable. You took that initiative. And I remember I did the same thing. I interned for Disney streaming services this past fall when they had, dropped Folklore Long Pond sessions. And I was like, I wasn't on the music team. I was on an operations based role, but I reached out to the creative marketing director of Disney. We had a whole conversation about, how they marketed it and the creative strategy behind that. And like, what an invaluable connection. And, you don't get those opportunities every day. So I think it's also really important to highlight, if you're in an internship, maybe not necessarily in your dream role, you have access to those people. And definitely making those connections is so crucial. And I want to throw it back quickly to you, June, because I feel like I know we have such a massive audience, in COMC who aspire to be visual creatives and are actively working on their portfolios. And I see so much crossover here because I saw 1824 hiring for a visual creative, and their app was on TikTok, and that's how they were, submitting their applications. And it was, like you said, a really creative way it sort of forced them to put their portfolios in a really creative medium. So I'm curious if you have any like specific tips for people creating a portfolio.
Yeah. Well, definitely, if you, depending on, again, all of what you do, I would say it just has to be a visual. And one thing I have learned, especially in the music industry, is like people, like especially older people in the industry, they don't like reading. They just want to see. They just want to look and like get it. You know what I'm saying? And I know organizing your portfolio based off projects, instead of like who, let's just say the internship you work for. Like if you were at an internship and you work for like 3 different artist projects, you should have like 3 different tabs for all the little, even if it was just some Instagram posts, like just of all those things. I feel like categorizing like that and making it seem like almost like an Instagram feed. If you're scrolling down and you see these different logos of companies you work for, artists you've worked for, I feel like that helps people like see that you've been putting in work. And even if it's something at school too, you know, put all the festivals, all the shows you did in school, the radio stations you work for, those things mean something. And like, it should be like, almost like, I don't know if everyone's like used Tumblr back in the day, but like when you scroll through Tumblr and you see those photos, you click the photo and it has like text describing it or whatever, or goes to another page, you should have something like that. But I would say definitely keep it just more photo based and try to categorize it based off the projects you did instead of like the experience, because you just might have one internship, but you did like 5 things. You know, that's 5 pages you can have on your portfolio versus just saying, oh, I was a Motown intern and you know, I did this. You know, here's a list of all the stuff I did. I would say that's definitely helps. And one thing I recently did, which I honestly I do feel like helped me get my jobs, was creating a reel and like a video. It's like that obviously takes some time, but like I feel like that helps because, you know, it's a 2-minute video. They don't need to look at my website or read my resume. They just watch that video and then they call me. Type, oh, sorry. And so like those little small things will like help you. And again, just have fun with it. I feel like that TikTok thing could be dope. That could be your resume. You know, if you're a content creator, then like, you know, dang well, you got to have like a video for your stuff. So that would be my biggest advice. Do it by projects you did, and if you can, try to get a little motion or some video.
That's great. Really great advice. Thank you. Yeah, I also know we all touched a bit on networking, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into that just because I know for me, it's essentially helped me land any internship or job that I've ever gotten. So I'm curious to hear from you all your top tips for networking for people who may be, you know, intimidated by it or freshmen in college.
I can go. Something that a mentor told me recently is, and this can go for like everything, but like when you're networking, make sure you lead with intention. A lot of the times you'll see a company, and I used to do this too, that you're really interested in, and you'll reach out without like knowing the person or doing your due diligence and research. And then when you have the conversation, it ends up being really awkward. And a pivot that I made that really helped me is literally just talk to people who you're interested in talking to, whether like you want to know about their life story, like what they're interested in, and like lead with that intention, because like once you're like, oh, I really want to work at like Spotify, the conversation isn't going to go well. So like always just like find people who you would like, think of it like this, like obviously like there's going to be people who like maybe you wouldn't be friends with, but like who like whenever I talk to someone, it's like, okay, can I see myself like going to coffee with this person or going to a concert with this person and vibing with them? And if that's not the case, then like I wouldn't do it, because it's like at the end of the day, like they're buying into like your personality when you're having this conversation. They're not necessarily buying into like you or what you have to offer because you're making the first reach out. So like once they like fall in love with how personable you are, then it's kind of just like on from there. And then that's when like the opportunities will like come about.
Yeah, I think leading with intention sort of falls into what I sent in the chat, which was try to avoid, I just want to pick your brain, because it's like, what do you want to pick my brain about?
Yeah.
I think it's like, you know, I'd love to learn more about your time so far at Spotify, or, you know, I'd love to hear more about how you became so passionate about digital marketing. I think the more specific you can be, the better.
And kind of going off of that, I think really that the whole be yourself, I think that's such an important thing, especially within the music industry. Like, I know at UT, like being in the business school, everyone is kind of like doing the same thing. Everyone's kind of like almost has to fall into this cookie cutter, like you have to be this way to be successful. That is not the case in the music industry. I'm just starting out, but what I've noticed from like my team at 1824, everyone is so different, but that's the whole point, is that the music industry isn't just one genre. There's so many different genres. There's so many different places for you to fit. And, you know, you have to find what fits for you, you know, like what is the right company for you? What is the right team? What is the right everything? Like, it's not about just getting a job, right? Because you want to be passionate about what you do. You want to love what you're doing. And, you know, you shouldn't have to change yourself. You know, you shouldn't have to try to force yourself to be this person that you're not, because at the end of the day, like, you're going to get tired of trying to like fake it, right? You're going to not want to be that person anymore because it's not you. It's not genuine. And being genuine is like, that's kind of like the goal in life, right? You want to be happy, you want to be passionate, you want to love what you're doing, and you can't do that if you start off not being yourself. So I think whatever you go into, whether it is a more formal interview or if it's kind of like just trying to connect with this person, bring yourself to the table. Whether it is, you know, if you are a little more in the introvert side and kind of shy, that's okay. You know, like there are people in the industry who aren't as like open and as like flashy, but there are the people who are flashy. And, you know, like your opinion matters and like your perspective on the music matters. And that's, you know, the music industry wants to hear all of it. We want to know what you think. And, you know, if that needs to be fixed for the artists to like kind of cater towards that, that's what their team will do. But the best thing you can do is be yourself. So,
and I think that I want to tie that into what Medina mentioned about, you know, maybe reconsider reaching out to someone you don't think you would vibe with or connect with, because, you know, I think in the music industry, regardless of whether you describe yourself as flashy or more low key or introverted, you're going to find your community and you're going to find your space. And I think reaching out to someone who, you know, you may not necessarily connect with, or, you know, sort of reaching, you know, may not be that fit for you, or may not, you know, it may make it more difficult for you to find your community in that sense.
I think for me as a freshman and sophomore, I wasn't really comfortable reaching out to any like professionals. So what I ended up doing was actually contacting any upperclassmen at my school that I just maybe thought they were cool, or they were doing an internship that I was interested in as well. So if they were on board of a club, I'd stay after that club meeting and talk to them afterwards. Or sometimes I'd even like email them and ask them to go to coffee with me. And then we would just sit down and go over resumes, talk about internships and what I want to do. And I felt like that was super helpful for me because I was so young and not 100% sure what I wanted to do. And it was such a like casual and comfortable conversation with someone that understands what I'm going through as well.
I also want to highlight that, you know, maybe when you were a freshman or sophomore, that reaching out felt sort of intimidating for you. And now you lead Color of Music Collective's community outreach team. I just wanted to throw that out there. All right, so since we're coming a bit close to time, and we do have a really great Q&A question and one more discussion question that I want to get to because I think it's important. So from, you know, like we discussed, everything we discussed from networking to internships, being involved on campus, it can be really exhausting trying to break into the music industry, especially for LGBTQ+ or POC students. So how have you gone about balancing your involvement in music while maintaining a social life, a general work-life balance? And what is your advice to freshmen, anyone beginning to feel burnt out even prior to landing their first job post-grad?
So for me, I'm kind of at that area. I'm graduating in May. I've been working with 1824 for about a year and a half. And, you know, you're kind of, for me, it's like right now I'm worried, like, okay, what's the next step? How am I going to get my first position outside of college? But I think what's been really helpful for me is like, I am the type of person who I do take on a lot on my plate, and I always have been that person like throughout high school. And coming into college, I felt like, you know, you're starting over. So in high school, I was super involved, and in college, I was kind of the first 2 years, or first year and a half, I was kind of like trying different things and trying to see what fit and what I liked. And for me, I ended up sticking with like one or two things, like organization wise on campus. And then I got my job my junior year. and then like my social life. And I think a really big thing is finding the things that you're passionate about. Like find the things that you want to put your effort in rather than finding all these multiple things and spending a little bit of time there, right? Like find the places where you can make an impact, because that feeling that you get when you know that you're like inspiring people and changing and like kind of helping other people, that's what helps drives me. Like, you know, being able to, you know, go to this org and being able to bring certain opportunities that I like have from 1824 to like the organizations on campus and people like coming to me like, wow, like I never would have heard this artist. Like something as small as that is like, wow, like, I discovered this new artist because you posted on your social media. Like that was like one of the smallest things that, but it makes such a difference because you're like, wow, like I was able to do that, but I'm also helping this artist like gain a new fan. And I think for me, like that piece of like knowing that I can make a difference, even if it's small, like just like something super small like that has kept me like wanting to keep going. And another thing is just self-care. Make sure that you take the time that you need, whether it's once a week, once a month, whatever you need, because everyone's different, your mental capacity is different, but self-love is so important. And it took me a really long time to get there. And now that like I'm in this space where I like, you kind of know yourself, you know, when your body's starting to shut down, when your mind's kind of like, you get irritable. I get a little bit irritable. I don't really want to talk to anyone. And it's okay to step back. Like it might feel like, oh, well, I have this going on for this club, I have this for work. It is okay to ask for a break. You know, like it seems really scary, especially as, you know, like if you're working and you're just the employee and like asking your higher ups or asking if you're like in like a exec board, like I'm on an e-board at my school, and, you know, it feels really scary because you feel like you aren't doing enough, but that's not the case. Like we're all students, we have so much other stuff going on, and people like recognize that, but they can't help you unless you ask for help. You know, you can't expect someone to just know what's going on in your head, and it is okay to take a step back. No one thinks any less of you because of it. But yeah, just make sure that you take the time you need, especially before you reach that burnout point. Like kind of prevent it. Don't let it get there and then have to do like risk management and like kind of fix it then. Like recognize the flags that tell you like, hey, slow down, and do that before it gets to a point where you're like everything is like on fire. So yeah.
Facts. Honestly, just to be transparent, I'm definitely still, you know, learning you know, best practices for work-life balance and ways to not get burnout. I feel like that's definitely one thing that, especially because of the pandemic, I feel like there's an increase of work because you're always at home, and you could easily be, you know, working at any point in time. But you know, just I feel like that's one thing part about, you know, entering your first few label jobs is understanding your boundaries and understanding when it's your breaking point. I saw this dope Instagram post. I'm going to try to find it because it's very on brand for this discussion, but it's like, if you get tired, learn to rest, not to quit. And like figuring out that, like, you can't be pulling out a bunch of all-nighters like you do when you're in school. You know, it's just not sustainable to like accomplish all the things you do. But yeah, and just like to keep it 100, you know, I'm still figuring that out. That's something you're always going to be figuring out, because with each step, you're going to be doing more dope stuff. You're going to have more responsibilities, and you got to like figure that out. So honestly, yeah, I'm still figuring it out. I ain't gonna hold you, but I feel like just knowing that, exactly what Kathy said, it's like, it's not the end of the world. We're not over here saving TikTok. Medina, you probably know her, Chase at TikTok. When I used to work with her, one of the great advice she gave me was like, we're not out here doing brain surgery and saving lives. I mean, music saves lives, but like, you do not have to stress out over, it's not the end of the world. It's just literally not the end of the world. But obviously it matters. But again, we're not out here doing brain surgery. It's like pushing culture and making music. It's fun, you know, make sure you remember that instead of just being like burning yourself out for an artist release, you know. But I will say that burning yourself out for the artist release and seeing the benefits of it, make sure you get your flowers when you do that, okay? But that's all I'll say about that one for sure.
I can add on to that because Chase definitely tells that to me a lot. Like I'll have moments where I'm just like freaking out and she's just like, you need to chill out. But for me, I think like adding on to what June said is like, having accountability partners or having someone on your team definitely comes in clutch, because they will check you when you're messaging them at 3 o'clock in the morning. Please don't message anyone at 3 o'clock in the morning asking about projects or anything. No one cares. But like my friends, like all through college, even when I was interviewing me like for this job, like they definitely was like, okay, Medina, like stop obsessing. You're fine. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And that has helped me out tremendously. I also cannot lie and sit here and be like, I have it worked out. Like I have a perfect balance, because I do not. I am the weird kid who will respond at 1 a.m. when I need to be asleep. But like having friends or like coworkers or teammates who are just like, no, just close your laptop. It's Friday. Go watch Bridgerton. You'll be fine, has helped me out tremendously. At the moment, you'll be upset at them because it's like, I need to work and I want the project to be done. But like, it is way better having someone like yell at you for like working like crazy hours than like being at that breaking point and like not being able to do anything. So that has been like the one thing that has helped me out tremendously.
Yeah, I think everything that's been said so far, I 100% agree with. Like doing what you love, having accountability partners, knowing when to rest. I think that coming out of my mouth, this feels so hypocritical because I feel like I've been such an overachiever over the past few years. And also, I'm interested in doing artist management long term, which is like the music industry version of overextending yourself. But I think that it's really important to acknowledge that like you really have so much time to figure things out and to like get your hands on experience and to meet people. And like the fact that you're here right now, you know, is proof enough that you're serious about this and you care about it. So just, you know, take a breath. Some of the people that I look up to most, like some of the people that I've met most, met over the past few years, who I admire most and who I like strive to be like, are people who said that when they graduated, they didn't know what they wanted to do in the music industry, or people who said that they were a few years into their career in one lane and then decided that they wanted to switch over and they're still figuring it out. So like, I think that it's important to acknowledge that like if you're on this like Zoom and you're watching this and you're in college or like a little bit past college or even way past college, like there's plenty of time for you to explore what you want to do. There's plenty of time to talk to people and meet who you want to meet. Yes, there are a ton of opportunities that you can seize and you can do a ton of them at once. But like, just like I said, just being here demonstrates your commitment to this. So after this, like take a nap or take a sleep and know that you're on the right track. And yeah, you're going to be okay. Like I promise you, yes, enjoy that nap. I promise you that like Medina and June said, like we're not doing like brain surgery over here. We're just doing what we're passionate about and there's plenty of time to do it. So yeah.
Yes, just echoing off everyone. I'm a very like everything happens for a reason type of person. So if you just take a break and look back at everything that's happened to you in the past and how it led to where you are today, I think that's really helpful to like calm you down and realize that maybe right now you're in that moment where you're not really sure what you're going to do, but in a few years, you're going to look back and laugh at this moment. So you're going to be fine.
Wow. I think, you know, maybe it won't even take a few years to realize it. Maybe it will just take that nap. Maybe you'll wake up and you'll be like, I was just being drama, like high drama for no reason.
Or you'll be very disoriented. It's usually one or the other.
For a while. Yeah. Okay. I know we're a little bit over time, but I did want to get to this last Q&A question from one of our followers on Instagram at Kiara Seibel. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your last name. So Kiara asks, if you had to pick one, what is one thing that led you to where you are today? So, you know, any experience, internship, campus opportunity that really felt like the turning point of your career.
For me, it was 1824. I'm still here, and I mentioned this a lot, but 1824 genuinely has changed my life in every single way, you know, like not even just about the industry, but it's helped me grow like as a person. Like I am so much more confident. I'm so much more fearless. Like I have really been able to like grow into myself, not just because of like the role, but because of the people that I've met, you know, my management, my coworkers. Like there's so much support that they have given me, not just like professionally, like not just because I like turn things in and I do things for them, like, you know, like as the work, like as an employee or anything like that, but you know, like the team genuinely cares and they support, and I've been able to do things that I would never have imagined I like to be doing. You know, if you asked me 2 years ago if I would have like worked on a project and like talked to like Duckworth, you know, like I didn't even know who Duckworth was like 2 years ago, you know, and being able to like do these amazing things and create things. And again, like, you know, like I am one person, but knowing that like a little things that I do could have helped this artist, helped, you know, the overall picture. You know, sometimes it's not about like you being a big part of the picture, but those little details matters, and the little things that you do, it doesn't go unnoticed. But yeah, I completely like 1824 has my heart. Like, I am in love with the people, the mission, the vision, everything that we do. And it's really helped me become the person that's, you know, on this panel today. So yeah.
That's at COMC. Love 1824 too.
Facts. I would say just another one. I feel like it hasn't really been talked about, but like being like genuine and nice and like a cool person to be around is something that's a slept on skill for sure. Very first internship was at Broccoli City Music Festival, which is owned by Live Nation, and I ended up interning with them for 3 years until I graduated, and I still do like freelance stuff with them from time to time, just because being dope and chill with them. I was blessed to work with a team of HBCU alums. Those were like the execs. So it's like, it's always dope when you see yourself in the people that you work for, and like just being cool with them. Like I can hit them up. Like those are literally my mentors now that I think about it, just because of being like a nice and genuine person. Cause there's a lot of like buttholes in the industry. I ain't gonna hold you. So like, don't be a butthole, literally. And then after the year after I was interning at Broccoli City, I also joined what is now called 1824. And that definitely helped as well, as far as the live event aspect and just getting my feet wet in the industry. But during that time, again, just being nice, because you meet all these new people through being a rep or an interning, but just like people gonna remember you for the work you do, but they also gonna remember like your attitude about doing the work, and you know, or were you cool to work with, you know. I think that's definitely like a slept on skill for sure. That would be my last little 2 cents.
Yeah, I just want to echo it. It's important to just not just be personal, but like be chill. Just be someone that, you know, people can hang around and just want to be around generally.
I'll say that what I feel like led me to where I am today. I can think of like 2 moments, and both of them involved reaching out to people. One of them, both of them were my sophomore year actually, because my freshman year at Syracuse, I was a voice performance major. And so I had a voice lesson, and my voice teacher was like, okay, so do you want to do opera? And I was like, I mean, I guess maybe. And he was like, well, then be prepared for, and then he just like listed what it was like touring and stuff. And I was like, never mind. But when I switched over to music industry, I sat in on a panel that featured, or it was a speaker. It was the CEO of the Fader. His name is John Cohen. He's probably not in the audience, but shout out to John Cohen. But I like sent him an email after where I just like word vomited this like thank you, and then it never got a reply. So that was motivating to me, I think, to continue to not a Fader ad. I do like the Fader though, but that was really motivating to me to just like continue to reach out to people. I think that's so important. Don't be discouraged when you reach out and people don't get back to you, because the next person that I think I really reached out to was an SU alum. Her name is Megan Flame. Shout out Megan Flame. The reason, like the way that I got connected to her was I saw that she graduated from Syracuse. I saw that she was involved in a cappella, that she was an orientation leader, that she did like XYZ activities that I was doing currently. And we just had so many commonalities. And she was in a position that I thought I might want to be in, that I decided to reach out. And that initial conversation was just so great. And I think was what like introduced me to the idea that there are people in the music industry who genuinely want to help you, who can relate to where you were, and who are like prepared to just be there for you and answer your questions and mentor you. So I think that moment was so pivotal for me, because really my next few years were defined by the relationships that I made and the people that I reached out to, and finding those people in a sea of like unread emails and unread messages, the people who genuinely did not mind taking the time out of their day to help, and who I'm still in touch with all the time. We are all here because we really care about helping students, because we were helped by other people. So this is just a small sample size of the people that I know are out there who are willing to help you out. So yeah.
I cannot stress enough, make use of your alumni. Go on LinkedIn, search for your dream company, and filter by your school. See who went to your school and reach out, and then don't be discouraged if you don't get a response. Send a nice follow-up, and I think 50% of the time, if they're an alum of your school and you promote that, you're gonna get a response. And yeah, make use of your alums for sure.
And adding on to that, sometimes you just have to reach out to them multiple times. They're just super busy. There was one person that I really wanted to get in contact with, and I emailed them for like every 2 weeks straight for 7 months, and then we finally had a conversation. And they were like, the reason why I needed to talk to you was because you emailed me every 2 weeks straight for 7 months having a conversation about yourself, or like whatever they were doing. And I was like, thanks. But like answering the question, I think so. I make this joke with my friends. It's like my origin story. One thing that really helped me was getting my internship at Atlantic Records. Also had another like somewhat persistence moment where like I hit up the hiring manager and I sent her like basically an 8-hour playlist of every single artist signed to Atlantic Records from like inception in like the 1930s to 2018, which is when I interned. And like she literally lost her mind. And I remember I followed her on Instagram, and she was like, this girl, like this intern, I wasn't even working for her yet. She's like, this intern is like amazing. She took the time to make this playlist. And like being inside of that building and working for her, but also seeing a lot of like Black women in the space, like it blew my mind, because like prior to that experience, like I didn't really work with people who look like me. And it just set me on a trajectory to kind of just like reach out to people who understand my experience, but also want to like change the music industry. And if it wasn't for that internship, and if it wasn't for Natalie Stevens, who was my manager at Atlantic, like I don't think I would be here today.
I think similar to Andy's story, I remember we had a speaker at my school. She was actually from Capitol Records, and I talk about her all the time because I love her. But after her presentation and just the way she spoke and the way she talked about the music industry, I just knew that that was what I wanted to do. So after that, I actually changed my major. And yeah, ever since I've been very stuck like on working in the music industry. I would go to events and try to reach out, but yeah, definitely that one speaker event, it really changed everything for me.
Quite literally, your whole major.
Yes, I was so scared, but it was for the best, and I'm very happy I did that.
Yeah, I mean, some real turning points here. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. And thank you to each of you for joining us tonight. To everyone who's, ever attended a Color of Music Collective panel, and, most especially if this is your first time. If you want to join us as a volunteer or learn more about us, you can follow us on all socials at Color of Music Collective, and check out our website, colorofmusiccollective.com. And before we go, I wanted to bring up the founder of Color of Music Collective, Mia Van Allen, along with JJ, to officially close us out for the night. Hey, Mia, can you hear us?
Gosh, y'all, that was so good. Oh, I went to school tonight, just saying. But Mia, take it away.
All right, thanks, JJ. Thank you, Marcella, and hi, everyone. Thank you all again for tuning in tonight, as this was CMC's first all-student and post-grad panel in partnership with Music Biz. As JJ said earlier, the conversation won't stop here. We hope you'll join next week as we take this to #NextGenU. So many incredible entrepreneurs and industry professionals and students will be there, and I'll be speaking as well. So make sure to check out the instructions on how to get a discounted ticket on our site, and JJ will add that in the chat as well. So definitely look down below.
Yeah, just to highlight those directions that JJ sent in there. You can get a discount to NextGenU by registering at the link he sent. Be sure to click on the blue register here button, go to the member $39 box and click get ticket, fill out your info to click partner. And when you say how you found out about NextGenU, type in CC plus CC in the box. And please note, you won't get the discount unless you put that in the box.
We can't wait to see you all there. This was so incredible. You all are goats, and thank you for all the information. Seriously, we're so excited for NextGenU and for this to kind of be the catalyst, and you guys just brought home like so many good points. So really appreciate you all. Virtual clap to all the panelists.
Yeah, and thank you, JJ and Music Business, for working with us on this really great panel. Thank you to each of our panelists. It was so great to have this discussion. And like they said, they were so kind to, offer a way to connect with them in the chat. So definitely take advantage of that. And with that, we'll see you at the next COMC event. Thank you so much, everyone.